The Babylon 5 reboot has been up in the air for 12 months. We're wondering, was it going to go in the CW or could it go somewhere else? I've been able to exclusively tell you that it's looking like it's going to go on HBO Max. But has there been a recent big update and a little twist to the story? Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. So if you are a Babylon 5 fan, you'll know that J. Michael Straczynski has been looking at doing a reimagining of his original Babylon 5 series, that it would be a complete boots-up retelling of the story. He has said several times in tweets that basically he can only sell Babylon 5. He thought about doing other projects, doing something around it, but at the end of the day, Babylon 5 is the show that's got the name. They're the ones that the studio wants. So they want a Babylon 5 show. But then he actually got quite excited about the idea of, basically, if I was to tell this story now, at the more towards the end of my career, instead of the beginning when I first told this story, how would I tell it differently? Now I'm a much more experienced and much wiser storyteller. What would I do differently? How would I tell the story differently? So he was not going to just do a reboot. He was going to take the core of what Babylon 5 was and completely reimagine the story. But the CW had first dibs, and they basically decided they wanted to push it back a year. They were being taken over by Nexstar. They had a lot of stuff going on at Warner Brothers as well, and there was a quiet nudge, wink, wink. Let's wait 12 months. Let's see where we are next year. And then we've got a lot more chance of producing a TV show that people actually want. Now, J. Michael Straczynski hinted a couple of weeks ago that he'd had a very interesting phone call from Warner Brothers. I almost immediately started hearing a few rumors that interesting phone call was because Warner Brothers had decided they're going to move forward with the Babylon 5 project, and that they had finally got word from the CW that they were going to decline their option to the series. So Babylon 5 will return. It will not be on the CW. But where will it go? Well, apparently, according to a couple of people I speak to, it could go to Apple TV. Now, there's been a few rumors like this going around because Apple TV are definitely looking for content and they really want a big sci-fi show. They have experimented with a few different sci-fi shows, but none of them have quite caught the imagination of the fans. What they want is a big gold standard television show that people will come to Apple Plus to watch, that people will actually find Apple Plus and subscribe to it to watch. They need a show like Babylon 5. Now, I've been hearing rumors for a long time that actually Warner Brothers wanted to produce this for HBO Max, but they were always open to other options. And at the end of the day, Warner Brothers does produce a lot of television shows and a lot of movies for other providers. The Creed movie trilogy recently is actually produced by Warner Brothers for MGM because MGM don't own their own studios. Warner Brothers own one of the largest studio lots in California, and they rent out a lot of that space. In fact, actually renting space out on their studio lots has been one of the only ways Warner Brothers has actually kept financially afloat in the last decade. Apple is incredibly cash rich. It's probably the only streaming service out of all of them that is cash rich. All of the others either have debt or have quite large financial problems. Amazon has debt issues, but they've also got a problem that their business as a whole has had nearly $1 trillion worth of value wiped off it in the last 6 months or so. They've also going to spend $1 billion on the Lord of the Rings of Power TV series that apparently nobody wants. Now, Warner Brothers have said they're going to produce a movie series, and that has put the Rings of Power under even more pressure. So, could Warner Brothers take something like Babylon 5, a show they own the rights to? Warner Brothers really do have the power to do with Babylon 5 whatever they want. particularly now the option for the CW looks like it's been declined, could they produce the CV show for Apple? Well, yes. If Apple are willing to order it, of course they would. Is there any precedent to this, though? Have Warner Brothers and Apple done deals like this before? Yes. Apple have ordered a series of Speed Racer from Bad Robot, which is going to be produced in cooperation with Warner Brothers. Now, at the moment, it doesn't look that great like it's actually going to go ahead, because apparently Apple aren't particularly happy with a lot of the pitches and a lot of the ideas that Bad Robot have then come up with for the Speed Racer series. But it does show that there's that working relationship there already, that Warner Brothers are willing to have conversations with Apple and are willing to work with Apple. And probably the biggest television show that Apple have right now, the television show that if I say Apple TV, that you'll probably think of immediately, Ted Lasso, is also made in cooperation with Warner Brothers. To be honest, this is not only a no-brainer for Warner Brothers if Apple are willing to put the money up, it's kind of logical. Apple want content like this. Warner Brothers own it, but they also have financial issues and they kind of wouldn't mind the income. So it's really a win-win for everybody. Now, my source is telling me that this is not only a serious conversation, it's a really serious conversation. And even though this show still might end up being HBO Max, he told me that if he was a betting man, he would put all of his money on it appearing on Apple. Now, that would be a complete, really out of left wing sort of change to the story. It's really not what we thought was going to happen. But really, the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. Warner Brothers need money. Apple have money. Apple want content. Warner Brothers have content. It really is just a marriage made in heaven. It's just a deal that makes sense. Let's hope whatever happens, they do it. Because I can tell you right now, wherever the new Babylon 5 series goes, I will subscribe and I will be watching it. And I think a lot of other people will too. But guys, what do you think? Get into the comments and tell me, is Babylon 5 a show good enough that you would follow it regardless of what streaming platform it ended up on? And does this just make business sense to you? I'd love to know exactly what you're thinking. Get in the comments. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out and you will never miss any of our new videos. Also, please go to patreon.com/SciTrek, where you can see most of our new videos first and without the adverts, just for a small contribution each month, which really helps the channel out. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.